after the Jets got blown out by the 49ers on Monday Night Football, Colin Cowherd says that Aaron Rodgers is not the savior for the New York Jets. Stephen A. Smith also said that Robert Saleh is on the clock. WFAN's Saleh, who I can't stand, said that the Jets fans should still be optimistic about Aaron Rodgers despite the loss. Licata added that Monday's loss won't impact Hassan Reddick's holdout, and he still expects it to last for a while. Sauce Gardner also suspiciously left the game during the second quarter, and it wasn't even reported that he had a medical issue. Backup running back Jordan Mason, who the hell is that? Rushed for 148 yards versus the Jets, the third most rushing yards the Jets have ever allowed in a game. Oh, my God. First of all, and for all you Jet fans out there, this is not Aaron Rodgers' fault. Because how could you blame a quarterback that was only on the field for 21 minutes? And here's another thing. How does a quarterback who hasn't played for about a year and a half get any kind of rhythm when he doesn't even step on the field from the second quarter to the third quarter, mid-third quarter? Okay, he was not on the football field for almost 15 minutes from the second quarter into the third quarter because the Jets didn't, after the Jets completely debacled the second quarter with what? I think it was 9 minutes left. They didn't touch the ball for the rest of the second quarter. Going in to the third quarter, they didn't touch the ball till 7 minutes and 41 seconds. You're telling me the domination of controlling the ball because the Jets couldn't stop the 49ers on a third down. What was the problem for the New York Jets last year? They couldn't stop teams on the third down. And I'm sorry, guys. I know all the Jet fans out there are going to say, well, this was one of the best defenses in the league. On paper, they were the best red zone defense in all of football. As far as yards per catch, best defense, or one of the top 3 defenses in football. Rushing defenses, the worst, second worst in the NFL, 30th in the league, averaging about 137 yards per game.
Even the Chargers are better. That says something.
148 yards to a running back that was a third string running back. Embarrassing. And don't worry, I'm going to get into Bambi Saleh, okay? Because I got my own thoughts to Mr. Bambi himself, Mr. Thoroughbred, who comes out there at his press conference and makes no excuses, but, hey, it's the first game of the season. We'll figure things out. We'll be back next week. I'm looking forward to it.
Jordan Mason was as fleet of foot as a deer against Bambi.
This team, not only when they did step on the field offensively, made a lot of mistakes. Breece Hall dropping the ball on the first couple of plays of the game, despicable. And honestly, I'm not blaming this on Breece because Breece took the ball down the next time and scored, okay? So you can't really blame everything because everybody makes mistakes. Breece is going to make mistakes. Everybody is going to make mistakes. Garrett Wilson had 60 yards when I thought he was going to have 100 yards, but maybe if he was on the field more, maybe he does have 100 yards. Maybe he has a touchdown in this game. And all those Allen Lazard haters, well, what do you think about Allen Lazard after game number 1? What do you think about him? Aaron Rodgers shows up, and the guy has 2 touchdowns and almost 100 yards. Where are you Lazard haters? Oh, he's the boss. He stinks. What are you eating now? You eating Twinkies now? Where are you Jet fans on social media? This guy sucks. Why do we pay him $11 million? I wonder why.
They're eating hot dogs on the sideline with Mark Sanchez.
Well, he's married, playing with himself somewhere else on as an analyst. And maybe he's playing with himself and Rex Ryan's holding on to his nuts. And Speedy, you should be holding on to the other one.
No, I'm not.
Well, somebody's going to.
He won't need to. Rex Ryan's hands are big enough to hold both of them.
That's true, too. I mean, I've never seen his hands, but maybe you have seen his hands because he was playing with you. I don't know.
No,
anyways, I have no idea what is going on in that locker room. And Sauce Gardner, I do not know what happened in the second quarter. Nobody knows. And when the press asked him, after the game, he said no comment. He doesn't want to answer the questions. They're keeping it within. Well, I guess that's professional, I guess. Or maybe Sauce Gardner, as good as he is, and there's no doubt he's the best corner in football. He just shut down Brandon Ayuk, okay? Shut him down, all right? I don't care. Everybody says, why did Brandon Ayuk have a bad game? I don't know, because Sauce Gardner was defending him. That would make sense if you watch the game. He was defending the best wide receiver. Whatever's going on in that locker room, it needs to be corrected. Because if anybody thinks that this defense played as well as everybody thought they were going to, is going to tell most fans that this could be a rocky season. If you can't stop the run, and you can't stop teams 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, and you can't clog up the middle, and you're having a problem doing that, there is a huge, huge problem. And Hassan Reddick is not only the answer here. I know all the Jet fans are like, sign Hassan Reddick. This needs to be fixed. Hassan Reddick is a pass rusher. He doesn't clog up the middle. He's not a good run stopper. He's okay. He's not a great run stopper. He's not going to make a difference on clogging up the middle, guys. He's not. And Jermaine Johnson, him going out there on certain plays, running and pushing people and talking crap. Jermaine, I love you, man. You're a Seminole. You're deep into this heart of mine. Deep in the heart of Texas. Well, you're not from Texas, but you know what I mean. Don't go out there and be stubborn. Don't go out there and think that you're better than what you are because you were in the Pro Bowl because certain players were playing in the Super Bowl. Nobody gives a crap about the Pro Bowl. Everybody cares about the All-Pro. And if you want to be an All-Pro player, you got to show up to games. You didn't show up. That defense did not show up. They did not show up to that game. Now, to the coaching staff. A lot to get into to Bambi Saleh, who has nothing to say at the press conferences except, it's the first game of the season. We'll get it done. We'll fix it up, and we'll be better. Now, I call him Bambi for a reason, all right? And there's a reason because this man is quiet. He's a so-called assassin. What he did over there in San Francisco stood for something, stood for personality and stood out there and yelled at referees. What is he doing on the sidelines for the New York Jets? He's standing there playing with himself. I don't know what he's doing. Nathaniel Hackett, I don't know what he's doing. He wants to shave his beard. He wants to keep his mustache, whatever. He looks like whatever he wants to try to look like. Shaving your beard, having a beard is not going to change what the New York Jets did on Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers is just a piece of what this team should be and could be. You need to call the plays, and you need to make the right calls. And boy, oh boy, you didn't make the right calls. Your play calling sucked. And as far as Robert Saleh, standing there on the side, not knowing what to do, this defense, who, by the way, did not show up in the first half and then went through to halftime, and you would think, hey, you know what? This young kid, this Jordan Mason, who the hell is he? You had a chance to really explode right in front of everybody on national television against arguably one of the best teams in all of football without Christian McCaffrey, and you let Jordan Mason, you heard it, Jordan Mason have 148 yards? Embarrassing. Embarrassing as a Jet fan. And then you know what? In the second half, you would have thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring up a safety. I'm going to clog up the middle. I got Clark. He's a good run-stopping guy. No, you know what? You were playing the same way you were in the first half. I don't care if you don't like to blitz the ball. If things aren't working and you have a chance to win this game and to get your star quarterback on the field to get rhythm, you do whatever it takes. If I was Aaron Rodgers, I'm sick to my stomach. And for all those people saying, oh, this is the best defense Aaron Rodgers ever had, but please show up to a game. Show up to a game that actually means something. This was the best chance for you to prove who you guys are. And for all you Jets analysts, and I'm not going to mention any names saying, oh, Aaron Rodgers looked good. Aaron Rodgers just needs more time on the field to get him rhythm. Yeah, he does. But Aaron Rodgers made mistakes too. He made mistakes too. Forcing the ball to Garrett Wilson. And he did it 3 or 4 times in the game. And I was like, where are you throwing the ball? I understand he hasn't been on the field for a year and a half. And he needs to get his rhythm back. But you are the leader of this team. Everybody is following you. The only thing that stood out to me from all the rest of this New York Jets debacle on Monday Night Football was that offensive line played very well.
Yeah.
That offensive line is for real. That is a good offensive line. That is a really, really good offensive line. And we didn't even get a chance to see Olu Fushanu, and maybe we won't this year. We'll see. Smith played very good. Morgan Moses played very well. Simmons played very well. Tippmann played very well. Elijah Verataka played very well. That's the only thing that stood out to me as far, and obviously Lazard actually showing up to the game. I mean, he wasn't Daniel Jones where he was walking out and everybody was asking for $1 million, but he actually showed up to the game, 2 touchdowns, put up some points, put up some yards. That stood out. But the only thing that stood out to me as far as a Jet fan was the offensive line was really, really good.
All right, before I can say my point, I believe we have Mark Kelly on the phone now.
Mark, what's up, buddy?
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
We're good, man. And Mark, we know you're in Alabama doing big things over there. We're very happy to have you on. I know you were sick to your stomach as far as the New York Jets are concerned. Your thoughts to my take on
that? So I mean, this job is way, more than anything I can handle right now. But I'm covering 8 county teams and 1 city school for high school teams. Football Fridays chaos, and our turnover is we get a paper out on Saturday morning, and then we get one out that we have to have in by Monday morning. So it's nonstop, over 100 hours a week. It's a lot, but I do have time for some pro sports. And last night, so I did my high school stuff, and then last night I go and I'm watching the game in a bar next to some poor guy who just happens to be eating dinner, and there's me trying not to curse because you don't curse down south. Watching the defense just give up third down conversion after third down conversion. Now, I understand it's the first game. 49ers are good. You look at the fact that they were the NFC champion last year, so not like many people expected the Jets to come out and win, but the defense that you heard so much about and their inability to stop on third down. I didn't even know who punted for the 49ers until and then 70 plays, 400 yards, 1 sack, no turnovers. Those are the things that really bother me.
And another thing that bothers me is this is the best secondary in football. If you know this is the best secondary, Michael Carter just got a new contract. DJ Reed, it's on his final year of his contract, and Sauce Gardner's going to be expecting big bucks. Why don't you just play one-on-one with your corners and bring up those safeties and clog up the middle and shut down that running game that was destroying them on third down? Right. They run the ball. They kept running the ball on third down. The Jets couldn't stop anything.
Now, you know what was killer? I think it was 7-6, and then they had like 4 penalties, 49ers. Holding calls, pushing them back, and then they just make it on the next play. And then they go in for the touchdown. And then, right after halftime was really when the Jets could have won the game, or at least get back into it. And the 49ers go right back down and score. And at some point you were watching the game and thinking, okay, when is this defense going to stop somebody? Now, again, if we hadn't heard about how historically great they were going to be, champion, they're pretty good. They're probably supposed to win at home, against an AFC team that was under 500 last year, even if they have Aaron Rodgers, okay? But the thing that kept going through my mind was this. How many times in my life have I watched that game? You get excited, and this is where the fan base comes in, because you get excited. You're looking forward to all off season for football. Now, New York fans, they got the Yankees and the Mets are playing better. Maybe both will make the postseason, but the Giants certainly aren't going to be any good. and you've been kind of waiting for the Jets season to start. And how many times have you waited for the Jets season to start, and they come out and they just lay an egg? And it's a bad taste to have. And that was only the first game again, but it is what it is. In '98, they lost the first 2 games before winning 12, which was the only time they've ever won more than 11 in the season. So hopefully they'll get better. I liked how Rodgers looked, but defense is going to be this great defense like we thought it would be. I don't care who they're playing. They can't allow 70 plays.
70 plays. Every single third down was a first down. I mean, they controlled the clock. If you're a good defense, how do you let a team get 30 minutes on the field offensively? How do you have 38 offensive minutes on the field? 38.
38 minutes.
38 minutes to 21.
I turned on the game at the beginning of the second quarter. I only saw like 6 plays on offense.
Yeah.
So
embarrassing.
That was. I was embarrassed watching the game because then of course you go in there, New York bravado. You're down here. No one cares about pro sports down here anyway. And by halfway through the third quarter, I'm ready to go home because I feel exactly like this wasn't worth my time. But hey, look, what are you gonna do? Okay.
What do we do? I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to reach out to Bambi Saleh. Okay, Mr. Bambi himself, and I don't know what maybe needs to be pet. I don't know what he needs to do. He needs to be pat on the back, maybe we need to help him shave up, that beard that he's growing again. Who knows what he needs to do? He needs to figure something out. Maybe he needs to shave his balls. Speedy, maybe we need to teach him how to do that. Okay, after we teach you. But I don't know what it is, but there's something going on in that locker room that needs to be fixed, and that has to do with coaching. And I just don't think this coaching staff is good enough. And Aaron Rodgers, I loved what I saw in certain aspects of the game. But what scares me right now is that I think that this offense has a chance to be something great. And for all the things that we thought was not going to be the problem this year, this defense, I think there's a lot of problems in this defense. There's a lot of holes in this defense that nobody thought they were going to have. Ashton Davis did not show up in this game. He played well in the second half last year, did not show up in this game. I don't know what's going on with him. I'll say this, Jermaine Johnson, who had a lot to say before the season and before the game, did not show up to the game, made a lot of mistakes, especially 2 penalties that were costly for the New York Jets. And then as far as I'm concerned, this running game where everybody keeps talking about how great Breece Hall is going to be this year. He's the second best running back in all of football. Where was he this game? Okay. Besides dropping the ball. Okay. So yes, he had a touchdown in this game. And yes, he did all right. You're one of the leaders of this team. You're expected to show up game in and game out and get that 100 yards. That offensive line played well. Why did you not find the seams? Why did you not find ways to keep this team on the field? That was the problem. And I think that's moving forward. The Jets need to figure out how to get these tight ends involved. Conklin, I don't even think caught the ball one time in the game. He didn't catch the ball. Where's the tight ends? I mean, Jeremy Rucker was on the field. Why didn't he catch the ball? I mean, why aren't they using? And by the way, where's Mike Williams? You made the move. You bring in this guy. You're paying him money. Why isn't he on the football field? It doesn't make sense.
And a lot of that is coaching on both ends of it too, because especially on the defense, because the defense should not be letting the 49ers right side of their offensive line play as well as they did in that game. It's one thing if Trent Williams do it and some of the other interior guys that are good. Colton McKivitz, if he didn't play for the 49ers, would look like Evan Neal. Like, that's how bad he was last year. And they have a bunch of injuries with their middle of their offensive line. That looked good. And they should not look as good as they was. Juwan Jennings was catching passes against the Jets' smaller corners, like DJ Reed and Michael Carter. As good as they are, they're undersized. Yet Juwan Jennings, a big-bodied guy. Where's Robert Saleh going to adjust to that too? And it seemed like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall both had those great drives, and then they adjusted because they were the hot hand, and the Jets never adjusted back.
Well, here's the thing, guys. Okay, the Jets should have learned a lot last night from watching the 49ers play. Okay, because that's how you play when you're expected to win. And that's how winners play. And that's where the Jets got to get to. Because at some point, you got to say, losing to them isn't acceptable anymore. It's not right now. Not the first game of the year against the defending NFC champions. But it's going to be at some point where you are going to go and you got to go on the road and you got to beat a team that you're supposed to be at the same level as. So where are they? What level are they at? You know, they're not on the 49ers level.
Well, hopefully we figure that out against Tennessee, because that's a team they should beat against a quarterback that's young and inexperienced. I want to see them show up to Tennessee and actually put up a W instead of lose a game and go 0-2 heading home to the New England Patriots where they're licking their lips on Thursday Night Football.
I know, but you know what? The Patriots beat the Bengals.
Okay, that's a whole other story.
And the Titans defense played well against Chicago, too.
Mm-hmm.
I am still not like thinking they're above losing to the Patriots. Okay? Like, they got to show that they can beat them consistently first. I'm not giving them anything yet. You know, I mean, they got to come out and win as many games as they can so people can have some kind of like legitimacy to the fact that all this hype right now, it's just hype. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's nothing else. There's just promise and, you know, maybe expectation, but we haven't seen anything yet as far as what everybody's been saying they are. I mean, I've heard some people say that this is the best defense in the NFL. This is the best team in the AFC. All I know is that the Bills won, the Dolphins won, and the Patriots won. You know who didn't win?
The Jets.
Exactly. You know who's in last place at 0-1?
The Jets.
Exactly. You know who's 18-34 as head coach? Saleh.
Robert
Bambi.
Bambi Saleh.
Smile
Good
and
old
it's a big-
Bam.
But he's still losing. At some point, you got to beat a team like that if they want to get to that level. That's what I'm saying. So they should have been taking notes last night. Okay? This is what a team does when they beat your ass. They come out, they run the ball, they execute, and they don't turn the ball over.
Robert Saleh doesn't take notes. He only writes down receipts and keeps them.
I'd rather wipe my ass than listen to Robert Saleh after the game. I really do. I mean, I'd rather just clean my ass nice and clean.
Yesterday. How good did Sam Darnold look yesterday?
You look good.
Oh, he had his best game in New York ever.
You know, looked pretty good, huh? Jeez.
Please, just stop making me sick to my stomach. I don't want to talk.
Winning.
All right.
What are we going to get? Troy Taylor next time to come on and beat somebody?
Yeah, well, somebody's got to watch this debacle of an organization. Why not us, right? I mean, seriously.
Play in 1991, but anyway.
Well, you keep up the good work. Let's talk, man. I want you to come on every single week. Listen to the show. Keep listening to the show because we're going to go through the NFL games, and I'm sure you're going to like what I have to say and what we're all going to say about this NFL week number 1 in the NFL season, which was all over the place and surprising. As you said, the Patriots beat the Bengals. And by the way, it was so funny at the end of the game when they were interviewing Joe Burrow. And his reaction to losing against the Patriots, it was pretty funny. It really was. I mean, you know what he looks like? He looks like Chucky, you know, with blonde hair, not with red.
Child?
You know, yeah. Oh, man. I just love it. I love it. I love football's back.
Yeah, I miss you guys.
I miss you too, bro. I miss you too. We would love to come down and put on a show for all the fans out there.
Man, that'd be great. You have all weekend. We'd be doing stuff.
We should talk. We're going to talk. I miss you too, and you got to stop being. You know, we don't hear from you for months, man. Where the hell are you, man? What are you doing over there?
I barely leave my house.
Yeah, all right.
But no, listen, and you guys do great, man. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We love you too. We love you too, as always. Mr. Yeah, you know who he is. Mark, aka Mr. Mac Daddy of them all. We love him. Everett Kelly. He's doing big things over there in Alabama. I'm so happy for him. You know, the guy works his ass off. All the things that he does, you know, and all the things that he's done for me, you know, this guy won 2 Emmy Awards, you know, working for ESPN. And, you know, with all the sicknesses that he's dealt with over the years and cancer and fighting it and book writing, the success and getting his opportunity to get back into the business. I love what he's doing over there in Alabama. And my heart goes out to all the people that work their asses off and the industry doesn't give them an opportunity or doesn't even see them for what they're worth. And he does. He's got the Emmy Awards to show his worth. And I love the guy. Absolutely love the guy. He's a brother to me. He'll always be a brother to me, and it means a lot. But I do want to get into all of it. By the way, that was a rough one for the Jets. I think they'll bounce back, though. You think?
They better against the Titans or the
think?
Patriots.
I think I have a better chance of jumping on a trampoline and bouncing than watching the Jets bounce back going to Tennessee. Okay. I don't trust it. Okay. It's just, to me, it's very Jet-like to see what they did on Monday Night Football in game number 1 and then go to Tennessee in week number 2 and put up another lousy goose egg.
Oh, just wait for the Sam Darnold revenge game. It's coming.
I mean, what are you trying to make me even more sick to my stomach?
No, I just think it would be funny.
No, it's not. It's not going to be funny for me. I mean, watching Sam Darnold put up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against a team that I thought should have kept him, should have developed him. I know they brought in Breece Hall because of it, and they traded with the Giants to get him because of that. But nevertheless, Sam Darnold, I still believe could be a franchise quarterback. And maybe if Aaron Rodgers decides to part ways with the New York Jets at the end of the season, if they have a losing season, maybe they give Sam Darnold a second chance here in New York.
Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings, just like Brett Favre.
Oh, please. I think Aaron Rodgers is done if it fails this year. I think they definitely need to make the playoffs this year. It's anything less is a failure as far as I'm concerned. And I don't want to hear it from the Jet fans. Well, we won 10 games. We just fell short. No. Stop with this falling short crap. I mean, you just need to find the rhythm. I'll tell you what he needs to do. He needs to play Aaron Rodgers football. And this defense needs to show up every single week with Bambi on the sidelines and stop putting his head between his legs and looking for something to come out of it. Okay? In many different ways, by the way. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports that Dak Prescott signed a 4-year, $240 million contract extension with the Cowboys. The deal will also have an $80 million signing bonus and $231 million guaranteed in Dallas or on a Dallas radio interview with Jerry Jones. Also said that anytime he was made a player, he has made a player the highest paid at this position, the Cowboys have won a Super Bowl. Both Tony Romo contract in 2013 and Dak Prescott in 2021 were top 5 quarterbacks and had their big contracts. Skip Bayless took shots at Jerry Jones, saying they shouldn't make a player that has stunk in the playoffs the highest paid player ever. Tom Brady praised Dak in his broadcast debut, saying he's the field general every team in the NFL is looking for. Micah Parsons said he is happy for Dak and getting paid and knows he will soon be paid by the Cowboys. Dak had 179 passing yards and a touchdown in the Cowboys' 33-17 win against the Browns. Week number 1. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this game and we'll go through all the stories and go through every single game because, if you're sick to your stomach, you shouldn't be if you're a Cowboy fan. And I don't understand Cowboy fans. I really don't understand Cowboy fans. And one of the main reasons why I don't understand Cowboy fans is when a quarterback is an MVP favorite for the last 3 seasons, okay? He's been an MVP favorite in top 5 in the voting for 3 seasons in a row. Okay, except though this actually 2 seasons, because the season before he didn't play very well, but 2 seasons in a row he has played very, very well. Okay, and again, I know everybody doesn't like Dak Prescott because he's nothing. He doesn't stand for anything, but I think he stands for a lot more than you think. For a guy that's dealt with so much in his career and a lot of stuff, his mother dying, his brother committing suicide, him snapping back his leg, and everybody thought his career was over. Okay, and then show up and put up almost 4,600 yards, 4,700 yards last year, and is up for an MVP. And then goes out, gets his contract, $60 million a year, making him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and winning a game against arguably the best defense in football was last year, and some people think a top 3 defense this year, as they did not show up in game number 1 against the Dallas Cowboys, but either did Dallas. I mean, Dallas's defense showed up. The Dallas's offense was up and down, but it wasn't because of Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott played a good game. He showed up to the game and he put up the numbers that he didn't need to flash the scoreboard. He didn't even put up 300 yards or 280 yards and 4 touchdowns where every Cowboy fan expects because he's making $60 million. You're not going to put up those numbers every single week. But what I would say about Dallas and what Dak Prescott did is he did what he needed to do. He was 19 for 32, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. His passer rating was 89. 89. Those numbers would tell you he's a great quarterback. Now, again, it doesn't stand out with 350 yards. By the way, how many quarterbacks in week number 1 threw over 350 yards? How many? Please tell me, because I want to know. It's not many. I don't even think there was one. So what does that tell me? Defense is different in the NFL now. The defense has gotten better. And with the new rules and the new kickoff rules, people got to get used to it. And being that there's not many, there's not, practice. There's no preseason games where you're really playing with your team or playing that many times, not many times on the field together. It takes a while to really figure out the team. It might take 3 to 4 weeks before this team plays at full strength. What I will say is Ezekiel Elliott, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the Cowboys. And he didn't have a good game. He was 10 carries for 40 yards, but he still had a touchdown. And he still averaged 4 yards a touch, which tells me, ladies and gentlemen, an average quarterback in the NFL averages 3.6 to 3.7. He averaged 4. So he can still play in the NFL. He's not Barry Sanders, beef. Okay? And for anybody who thinks that Ezekiel Elliott is Barry Sanders is an idiot. What I can say about this Cowboy team, I did not think the Cowboys were going to run all over this Cleveland Browns team. And by the way, Deshaun Watson, I don't know what's going on with him. He's horrible. He looks horrible. 24 for 45. Who has a quarterback that hasn't been on the field for almost 2 years? Almost 2 years, throw 45 times. I mean, seriously.
That seems that there's no Nick Chubb,
And I'm not taking shots at the coaching because we know he won Coach of the Year last year. He was the best coach in the NFL. I'm not going to take shots at him, okay? But it doesn't make any sense. Deshaun Watson is not the same quarterback that he was with the Texans. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a head situation. I don't know what's going on in that man's head. But I will say this. Whatever's going on in his head or other heads, he needs to wake the hell up. Because this team, who's expected to make the playoffs or challenge the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, or even the Bengals, did not show up in game number 1 of the season. Did not. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Amari Cooper needs to play better. He needs to show up. I don't know what happened. And I'm not going to blame all on Amari Cooper because he only had the ball thrown to him twice. But get open. I'm not saying that the Cowboys are world beaters when it comes to their defense. They're a good defense. Their secondary is not good. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. Their secondary is not good. To shut down Amari Cooper and Amari Cooper not get open, he did not get open. And that's why Deshaun Watson did not throw him the ball. That is a problem. So that is something that it stood out to me with the game. The Cowboys did not utterly world beat the Cleveland Browns offensively, but defensively, Micah Parsons was all over the place. And he always looks good. I'm just saying this. He always looks good in the first 8 games. And then he falls off for some reason. But Micah Parsons actually showed up. And this defense showed up. Kendricks looked really, really good. He had 2 sacks in the game. This guy comes from Minnesota, comes over here. His first game with the Cowboys has 2 sacks. DeMarcus Lawrence showed up to the game. He actually had 2 sacks. And why? Because Micah Parsons, who had 1 sack in a game, was all over the place. They had to define their offensive line. And Cleveland has a good offensive line. They had to figure out where he was going to be, and it opened up seams defensively for the Cowboys to get at Deshaun Watson. So that's really what it was. It was the Cowboys defense in game number 1 and Dak Prescott not making any mistakes. That's what won game number 1 for the Dallas Cowboys.
And all the Cowboys fans complained, Dak Prescott didn't have a world-class stat line. Well, for one thing, he didn't need to because they dominated in every other phase of the game. Now, granted, I'm not going to jump the gun and say the Cowboys are going to be some elite defense all season long because the Browns did have some injuries with their offensive line. They had no Nick Chubb. And like you said, they don't have, besides Amari Cooper, they don't have much other talent. Plus, Njoku got hurt during the game, too. So that's their second target. So don't jump the gun on that and say, oh, just because you dominated against Deshaun Watson. But even so, the Cowboys' offensive issues were on full display when CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, you knew were going to be rusty, and they didn't have other guys step up big. Yeah, Zeke did well. I'm not saying that he wasn't efficient as a runner, but he's 29 years old. He's not going to be the same running back that he was 3 years ago when he was a peak guy. And obviously Jerry Jones, who, by the way, you're wrong, Jerry. You gave him the highest paid running back contract in the NFL. Where did you go? So clearly your statement is wrong there, saying you always win Super Bowls when you do that. But either way, their offensive line looked pretty good, but besides that, their offensive skill players, they weren't much of anything else. They had a special teams touchdown. They had Ferguson get hurt, which was unfortunate for them. But Brandon Cooks had the one touchdown. That was it. Like, they didn't really have much. Like, your flaws with Dak Prescott not being able to carry you the same way as he was as an MVP finalist were on full display in that game against a defense that I expect to regress a little, but are still a nice defense.
Before I get Fish involved in this conversation, ESPN's Dan Graziano reports that the NFL is investigating another incident against Deshaun Watson when he was on the Texans in 2020. It is a civil lawsuit filed by a woman accusing Watson of both sexual assault and battery at a restaurant in Houston. Man, he goes all over the place. I mean, he does it all over the place. The lawsuit also claimed Watson was screaming at a woman when he wasn't able to find her apartment that night. The lawsuit claimed that Watson was later lying on the woman's bed, naked in her apartment, and requested a massage. Watson has been previously accused of sexual assault in 24 other cases, and he ended up settling 23 of them in the summer of 2022. The Browns, after restructuring Watson's contract a few weeks ago, now have to pay a cap hit of $73 million in each of the next 2 years. Watson is in his third year of a 5-year, $230 million full guaranteed contract. Oh my God. I mean, I didn't hear about this story, but this is nice. This is nice to know about another and an improving Deshaun Watson. And I mean improving because he does it everywhere. It's not just in Texas or in the stadium or even at his own home. He's doing it in restaurants. Hey, I gotta hang out with Deshaun Watson. I mean, he must have his fun, man. I don't know what's going on in Deshaun Watson's head, or what was going on in Deshaun Watson's head. But whatever it is, it's obviously a rub and tug. And if you want to rub and tug it, I mean, Speedy, maybe we should reach out to Deshaun Watson. I mean,
I don't want it, but maybe these guys in the photo want it.
I mean, handcrafting it or even tossing it, and there's a lot of salad to be tossed. I mean, maybe we hang out with Deshaun Watson. He's not going to be tossing footballs much longer. So maybe somebody. Well, it's a frat ball.
Well, he'll be tossing footballs just maybe with Antonio Brown and some spin.
I mean, honestly, if you're a Deshaun Watson fan, you should be very, very worried that if this story is to be true, this is only going to make it worse if he can't show up on a football field every single week. And the Browns look like an organization that really is still trying to search for their quarterback when they had him in Baker Mayfield. They gave up on Baker Mayfield. He went to the Rams, and now he's playing over there in Tampa after 1 year with Canales, who goes over there to Carolina. By the way, laid a lousy goose egg. Again, Bryce Young didn't look very good. That's a whole nother story. We will get into it. But Baker Mayfield actually showed up. And I don't know what's going on in this Browns organization, but the Browns organization is looking like an organization that really doesn't know what they're doing. They have a good coach. They have a good defense, but a defense that didn't show up in week number 1 in certain aspects of the game. They did play okay. I mean, they did get at, Dak. They sacked him a couple of times, but all in all, when they needed to get Dak Prescott and put pressure on Dak Prescott to make mistakes, they couldn't do it. And to me, Deshaun Watson is the quarterback, but it wasn't all Deshaun Watson's problem or all his fault. But again, Deshaun Watson is the leader of this team. Deshaun Watson is making $230 million, and Deshaun Watson has a problem keeping his thing in his pants. So I don't know what is going on as far as the organization and sexual battery and all the craziness that's going on with these women suing him. And maybe the story isn't true, but I mean, how could you deny it? Because he's been, he's been caught 24 times, doing the same thing, laying on beds, laying on, sofas and, benches, park benches, or whatever the hell he's doing it on, and asking, a little rub and tug. I mean, Robert Kraft should give him one of those, and maybe he should give Robert Kraft another one. And then maybe they should hang out together with, all the other guys. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Antonio Brown should definitely hang out with those guys. They're all freaking nuts. But that's a whole nother story. That's not what we're going to get into tonight. Fish, let's bring him in. Might as well ask him his opinion on the game. And, the Dallas Cowboys making that money well spent to the Dak Prescott era.
Well, I don't really understand Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones said, and you guys mentioned it, we always, when we have the top paid players in the league, we always win. 4 years ago, Dak Prescott was the top paid quarterback in the league. And now 4 years later, you are making him the top paid quarterback again. What senile. Has he done?
He's senile. He's losing it. I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, maybe,
what are you talking about?
Hey, he wanted Johnny Manziel too. I mean, that would have been interesting. How much coke
speaking of the Browns
to sell that to the fans?
Well, look, I think Jerry is just the guy in name only at this point. It's his kids, and they're not anything special to write home about. I'm just happy that the Cowboys have a bunch of talent, and I know they're going to screw it up. I don't care how good they start this season.
That's coming from a Giant fan, ladies and gentlemen.
But it's the same story since what? 1993? 96. 96 is last? No,
you're gonna tell me, Fish, right now that Dak Prescott doesn't deserve I'm not saying that anybody deserves $60 million, but if you look at what Dak Prescott has done and really dealing with it with the Dallas fans and all the stuff that he's gone through over the last 3-4 seasons, you're going to tell me he doesn't deserve that money?
Errol, I would march Daniel Jones's dead body to the police, turn myself in take all his money, rob 5 banks, and then give it to Dak Prescott, and then beg him on my knees as they pull me away for the rest of my life to prison to play quarterback for the Giants. It is that bad over here in Giants land that I don't even care if he can't win in the playoffs. At least he can play football. It's gotten that bad that I don't even trust him, our quarterback, to throw a simple screen pass.
See, Fish, think of it this way, though. We could be Deshaun Watson and the Browns.
Well, you're right. And that's the sad part. It's not that Deshaun Watson is worse than Daniel Jones, because he's probably not. They were around the same in PFF. PFF actually didn't kill them that badly this week. Surprisingly, they killed Jalen Hurts this week, which is something we may end up talking about as we go forwards. But I'll say this. Deshaun Watson has the worst contract in sports history.
Yes.
It's the worst in all sports.
Well,
guaranteed
to do with the Cowboys.
No. At least the Cowboys didn't do this. This guy was already under investigation. They had Baker Mayfield, and you brought it up. And I want to go back in time a little bit and remember what Baker Mayfield did to get himself kicked off that team. All he did was play with a partially torn throwing arm, through all the pain, an entire season, getting them to the final game, and then they throw him away after he sacrificed, saying, he just doesn't have the arm strength. Of course he doesn't. He was playing on an arm that was hanging off the side because he was doing it for you. And then you get rid of him for this scumbag and give him all this money, and then he can't play for a couple of years, loses all of his good habits that he gained in Houston, and now he's one of the bottom 5 to bottom 10 quarterbacks in the league, and you're paying him like he's the best. And your cap hit's so bad, if you cut him, it's 73 next year with him. If they cut him, it goes up to 95.
Yeah.
They cannot cut him for the next 2-3 years.
And they just restructured it
to deal with it.
They just restructured it literally like 2 weeks ago in the small hope they were going to get Brandon Ayuk. And why would Brandon Ayuk want to go play with freaking Deshaun Watson?